Hello, welcome to Elisa Marie Designs. I am Elisa Maria. Welcome back if you are back, and welcome if you are new. Today is Sunday, March 10th, and that means if it's Sunday, it's Self-Care Sunday, hence the big smile. I love Self-Care Sunday, and I love that you love Self-Care Sunday because I love you and I love being here with you. It really truly is, out of all the things that I do, the favorite thing that I do. I love Self-Care Sunday. And I was sitting in my room and I'm like, what am I going to work on today? What am I going to work on? So let me just show you what this room looks like. Oh, a horror. It's a horror. Let me see. Where are my paintings? So I had chosen, oh gosh, she looks like she had a stroke because the piece of plastic is falling down on one side. And I had this guy here. And I was in here last night after I came back from dinner. It was so funny. We came back from dinner and said to John, it's 7:30. Like, it's a Saturday night. It's 7:30 and we're home already. And I don't know, we must have, I think we turned on the TV and there's never anything on. But do you know what I watched on YouTube last night? He fell asleep and I was still up. And I follow Cher, and Cher must have put her TV show on that she did by herself. It wasn't Sonny and Cher, it was just the Cher show, and it was the first show. It was the pilot, and she had on Bette Midler and Elton John and Flip Wilson, and for an hour I just sat here so entertained. But by 8:30 I was sleeping, which meant that at 1 o'clock in the morning I was up. And then there was like this time change, and I was sitting in here doing The Angel. So I swear I'm going to do Self-Care Sunday, and I'm not going to just talk. You're going to see what I'm working on. Oh, what do I have to do? Do I have to turn this around the other way? Hold on. So I decided that I was going to continue working on him because he's going to join the Marie Club, where Marie, I'm going to move you up a little bit here. Marie got a little revision to her canvas. So I was meeting with my members and we were talking about this canvas, and Gabrielle said, I think you're going to have to, she didn't say, I think you're going to have to redo this, but she said, I don't want to tell you what she said. It's in the member section. But she said, and I looked at it today when I stood up and I looked down at this table when I finally got up from this table at 5:30 in the morning. I was like, how could it be 5:30 in the morning? I've been diamond painting since 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I realized that the time shifted. We sprung forward. But when I got up and I looked down, I was like, oh, I see now what Gabrielle's talking about. So I put him on the wall and I took some pictures of him. And I said, yes, you're going to have a little bit of a repair to your canvas. But if you're interested, I'm going to do this in the member section. And I'm not going to change any of the drills, but I am going to change the drills. So if you're interested in how I'm going to do that, then jump on the membership. We have a lot of fun there. We share a lot of tips and tricks if that's what you're up to, if that's what you're into, not up to, but into. And a lot of my members come through Self-Care Sunday, which I love. And I love that we were able to do bonus content this week. So let me tell you, I do my Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. I've been doing it for years. This poor book, I just ordered from Temu. They must have heard me. They had a little container of page clips. And I was like, I need to buy this because look at this book, what it looks like. Look what I have for bookmarks for everything. So this week was a pretty tough week for me. And I had explained to my members why. And every reading just seemed to be calling out to me. And then with the time change at the end of the week, which, I got up this morning and I kind of felt like everything that I read this week just came to like fruition. Like I absorbed all the readings this week. And when I got up this morning and I was like, it's so serendipitous that it happened during a time change, because I couldn't get the two words out of my head, time change. And we talked a lot about that in the members section, about words that we use and how they're received, and how they, even not only how they're received by other people, but how do we receive them. So I was talking about, experiences that I had teaching yoga, and different cues that I would use, and how different students, receive them, but how also I receive them myself. But John read More Power to You on March the 2nd. And then March 3rd was In the Living, which I love. Every person's condition is a solution in hieroglyphic to those inquiries they would put. We act it as life before we apprehend it as truth. So true. So that reading hit me, but I was having a really, really, really tough time. And March the 4th, I was reading For What Are We Saving? If the love I have isn't working, what good is money? So John had came home, and I had just gotten done with this reading, and I was writing about it. And he said, the reading that I did March the 2nd, and the reason why he did it, More Power to You, was something that I thought that he could, that he had the experience to deal with, because he's always dealing with issues that have to do with malevolency and benevolency and power and control and scarcity and abundance. And so I said, this is something, when I read it, I'm like, this is something that I think John could do, has more to offer than I do. But I also love having a yin-yang perspective to the reading. And there's been a few times that he's joined in on the readings. And when he went out for his walk, it was like 2 days later, and he said, I had this kind of breakthrough, and I want to talk about it, which he did. So then as I continued to read the rest of the week, during the week, March 5th was about straying. March 6th was about returning, but it was March 7th that is the reading that I think I'm going to read today, Letting Go of the Race. And even March 8th was really a good reading too, which has to do with your responsibility to use your voice. Like, you can't expect to be in a relationship if you are not your true self. If you can't express who you are, then the other person is relating to a lie. If you don't express who you are, how can they ever show up for you? So that was really good. And I think just led me on. It was the catalyst to this week coming to an end, and to the time change. And I just felt like all this that I put this whole week, that is so melancholy for me, and it brings up so many issues, because I don't know if I said it or not, because I share certain things with my members, and not here on the page, on the channel. I call the channel the page. But it's the week that my father passed, and his passing wasn't as difficult as saying goodbye, which was March the 7th, and letting go of the race. And so that's what I'm going to be reading as I work on my angel. But I also, like, the issues that were coming up for me in that reading is, and I think because also another thing that's happening in parallel to this being the month and the week that is very difficult. I don't want to say difficult. It's not difficult. It brings up unresolved issues. And I'm reading a book called Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. I want to call her Napolitano because she's Italian, but I'm probably saying her name wrong. But you might know her from a Apple TV special that was called Dear Edward. So I think at the time, I don't want to go into the subject matter of Dear Edward, but Apple TV did pick it up. And who's the girl? The girl that was the girl, if you watched Orange is the New Black, she was the main. Was her name Piper? Yeah, Piper. She plays the main character along with Edward. I think that they're the two main characters, really. And I think maybe, I don't know at what time this was broadcast, that I actually watched it, but or maybe it was the subject matter, maybe it was something that I was going through emotionally, because my life is just starting to calm down from the pandemic and from losing my dad and from not opting to continue on in a marriage that was not good for me. I'm not saying that the person was not good. It just was not. Um, mm, I don't know. I still don't have words for it. It was. One of us had to be brave enough to rip the band-aid off and go our separate ways. And I think something happens, and this is what I'm saying about running parallel with this book. So the book is about four sisters living in Chicago, and their mother is a big part of the story, and their father, and these four girls that are just going to remind you of, if you watch Bridgerton, if you read or ever seen Little Women, you're going to relate to these four girls, or even Sex in the City. I mean, I know they're not real sisters, but everybody's like, I'm a Miranda, I'm a Samantha, I'm a this. If you Little Women, it was like, I'm a Beth. If it was Bridgerton, it was, I'm a Lily, or I'm a I always saw myself as being the girl with the book. The one that used to just sit and observe everybody and read a book. And so it's gonna grab you like that. But the one thing about this author that she does that I find so compelling about her writing, and my girlfriend told me to read this book, and she's like, you're gonna think about these characters even when you're not reading this book. And she was so right, because I can't get them out of my head. They're so well written. And the subject matter, and she writes family tragedies very well. And um I think the tragedy that undergoes this family was almost sort of the tragedy that I underwent when my dad passed. And what is on here? It looks like a shaving. Oh, I know why it's a shaving. You know why? A pencil shaving. Oh, come on, Lee. Get that off. Oh, gosh. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I got a glue dot here. Always with the tips. Let me take this glue dot. Gotta get that shaving off of there. I wanted to mark my trays. Like, you guys know how I do. If you've been here enough, you know how I do. I mark my trays with whatever symbol is in there. I've always wanted to use glue dots in my stylus, but come on, you. It's a pencil shaving. Oh, for the love of God. Got it. I got it. You know why I have a pencil shaving? I wanted to mark my tray. Let's put this piece of glue over here. And I didn't have a pen next to me, my China marker. And I'm like, what are you looking for a China marker to? You have a whole tray full of like pastels and magic wands. These are Jane Davenport. And you guys know that I do sketching sometimes, even though I don't share it here on the page. But I was like, oh, I'll just get a colored pencil. And I was like, oh my God, they're all sharp and ready to, to draw with. I can't, I'll break the point. But I used one of my pastels, and probably one of my shavings got on the... But I wanted to show you those Jane Davenport. They're so pretty in the container that they come in. And if you're interested in drawing or anything like that, look up Jane Davenport. She was doing a live last night, and she was having a problem with her internet. And so I think because they're having a bad storm in Australia. And so I took one of her pastels out to mark my tray with the U on it, because I have a U, and then you know how they do. The upside down U is right next to the U. Anything to drive you a little bonkers. So, my girlfriend was telling me, like, you're going to, remember this family. You're going to be thinking about them even when you're not reading the book. And I am so curious because even when I was married to my first husband, and there was a horrific tragedy that happened in his family. My dad was sick with cancer, and his grandmother we didn't know if she was going to recover from the stroke that she had. And we were preparing for, like, what's next? Like, um, whose family are we going to have to, you know, we didn't think that either one of them were going to make it, and both of them did, but it was my mother-in-law who passed away, my ex-mother-in-law who passed away. And she passed away while she was talking to me on the phone. And I had no clue. We were both on the water. She was in Long Island. I was in Maryland. I had just changed my room because it was so musty from the rain and all, and I had no internet connection. So when I lost the call, even though I was looking at the phone, and I'm like, how could the phone still, like, there's still a connection, but I can't hear, she's not answering me. And I hung up and I was calling the other line, and my ex-husband said, no, she's having a problem with her phone. I was there this week and she's having a problem. You're probably not going to get through. But I had such a pain in my stomach the rest of the night. And he was like, come on, we have to get ready. We're going to dinner. And, a few hours later, we had gotten the phone call. And, but that, it's as if that's not tragic enough. But that tragedy pulled the family apart. You would think that it would make everybody closer, but I think, and this was the thing with my dad too, like, I didn't realize how much my dad, even though he was sick, and even though he was, this is the wrong view, and even though he was going into Alzheimer's, but not where he didn't remember me, he still knew who we all were, but he was kind of like reverting into like a very childlike demeanor, but he was still holding the family together. Absolutely. And then as soon as he was gone, everything changed. Everything changed. It was like, oh, we don't have to behave anymore. Joe's gone. We can just, drop our masks is what I want to say. And that's what happened with my family. And that's what makes it so difficult this whole week, and then all this coming into a time change. And I'm like, yeah, talk about a time change, boy. Every year it doesn't get better. Every year it just gets worse, and every year I become more estranged from my family. So it's rough. It's rough, and especially when the choice is not your own. But, like I said, the masks drop with people, and they're always the outsiders. They're always the in-laws that cause the trouble. Always. And, I'm sorry if you're an in-law, but, I'm sure you're an in-law, but, it's always, and I find that, like, I've seen this with my friends, like my girlfriend, when her brother met his wife, her father said that girl is going to be the ruination of our family. And as soon as he died, she was the catalyst that completely destroyed the family. Because as long as he was alive, she had to walk the line. But as soon as he died, that was it. The mask fell, and you really got to see what he saw the first day he met her. Does that make sense? I don't know if anybody has horror stories like this. I always feel like I'm alone in these things, but that's what happened with our family too. Walk the line, fool everyone. And then it was like, well, we don't have to do this anymore. And I don't have words for it. I really don't. I think if you are clear, if you have a good moral foundation, if you have your values, and what you value in life, and but if you don't have those things, if you don't have ethics and morality and principles, you really shouldn't even be making decisions for anything in life. You know what I mean? If you don't know where you stand morally, and you don't know where you stand ethically, and you don't know where you stand in morality, you're usually not you. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that those are the people that usually are the catalyst to destruction. and then they don't rebuild anything. They don't destroy to rebuild something better. They're not Vishnu. They're not the destroyer and then the rebuilder. They're just the destroyer because their lives are destroyed and they can't stand to be around goodness and they can't stand to be around morally good people or principled people. They need to destroy them. And this happened in my family, and I was the target. And it's been 5 years, and it's been difficult to talk about. But then that's why March 7th was so important to me, because I was talking, or why March 7th was so impactful for me in the reading, because then when I read March 8th, it was really the catalyst to, I'm done carrying this burden of just pretending that everything is going to be okay and it's going to work itself out, because it's 5 years now. And if you're not going to tell people what you think and what you feel, and being quiet isn't working, I think it comes to a point where you have to express yourself, because maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know how they hurt you. Maybe they don't know that you're suffering, unless we can't just assume that people know that you're hurt, even though, everything has changed, but you can't really just assume that people know that you're hurt. You have to show up, and you have to be responsible to say, hey, this is not cool, the way that you treated me. And then if they continue to treat you that way, well then, then they did show up and they did give you an answer, and that's their answer. Like, go to hell, or I didn't know, and you mean something to me. You're of value to me, and I don't want to jeopardize our relationship. I was just maybe giving you space to deal, but and so I threw caution to the wind, and I let my family know, like, this is what this has been doing to me since my dad died, and it's like 5 years, and I can't just ignore it anymore or act like things don't bother me anymore when our family is so fractured. But they gotta want to be there, and if they don't, and even though you're a good person, and you're a loving person, a kind person, a generous person, they don't care. They may not care. So, like, if you do take that chance in letting people see you and see your pain, or see whatever it is that you want them to see, they may not show up also. So I think before you go into that, you have to be prepared for that. And I think I kind of knew, because they're like I said, they fight against morality, and they fight against goodness, because they can't stand it in you, because they will never be that way. They don't know what that is. And it's fun. And I spent years, like, I knew this, but I was like, it's a shame. Maybe she just doesn't know what this is. Maybe no one loved her. Maybe she's hurting because of losses that she had in her life, and like, I'll be the example. I always felt like that. I'll be the example. And my dad would always be like, Elisa, you don't know what this person is going through. Like, you don't know what anybody's going through. Just try and be kind. But we do know this, and we do know that it was a tragedy, and just be kinder. Like, this is the family. This is your without saying who it is, but like, this is who this person is in relation to our family. So just try and be the bigger person. And then after a while, the bigger person gets tired of being the bigger person. Let me tell you. Especially when they're not learning anything. And the best is like, if you do point out to them, like, I've been there for you, I've done this for you, and I've done that for you. The meanest thing that anybody ever said to me was, being a generous person and being a person that wants to always help, the meanest thing that a family member said to me was, who asked you to do any of that? Sit with that one for a while. Sit with that one for a while. What am I doing here? What color was I just working with? I'm over here. Oh, it's K. I don't know what I'm doing. So, with that said, I am going to... I thought I was going to go quiet because John was practicing. And I waited for him to get done. And I said, oh, don't worry about it. You know, I could just put this on mute, and then I could just do my diamond painting, and then I could just do a voiceover. Like, they won't hear the music in the background. But being that he went downstairs, he's done. He practiced for a couple of hours too. I could just continue to diamond paint, spend some time talking to you guys about the readings that I read. And I found it like so interesting because, where's my light at here? I've changed myself across this room so many times. I really can't keep adjusting myself. Is that going to help me? I have to lean to the side to see the symbols because there's a light being cast on them. Oh, it's so... The perils of being a creator. Lighting is the biggest one. Oh, where did it go? This is why I usually can't talk and diamond paint because I'll take a break. Even though I don't like taking a break, I kind of like the little video that I did of John, and he was talking, and when he was done with that talk, with that bonus material that I did for my members, he I said, I don't know where I'm going to put this at, because it was just 15 random minutes of him saying, this is an addendum. Well, not everybody knows what you're talking about, you know, unless they're people that follow Self-Care Sunday, they don't know what you're talking about. And so I decided to do a video where I was diamond painting and giving you guys context to who's this guy in the picture, like a picture in picture, and what the heck is he talking about? So I kind of like just quietly diamond painting, and then maybe popping myself in a separate window and doing an overlay. I think I'm going to do that. All right, so let me quietly diamond paint here for, half an hour. And then I'll do my reading, and then I'll pop that in the window. Hi. So I am going to diamond paint and read to you. I'm going to read March 7th. If you didn't follow the beginning of the video where I was telling you that a little bit of what was going on this week, and you know, why I picked these two readings. And I was actually thinking, like, this week was, well, I find it every week. I find that the way that Mark Nepo puts this book together, it reminds me of my teacher training when we were studying the yamas and the niyamas. And I feel like this book unfolds like that. And also like Meditations from the Mat, which is another great book. I don't know if that follows a daily. No, I don't think it's set up that way. Can't remember. I read a lot of books. So when I was reading this week, and I was like, what reading do I want? I was actually thinking while I was diamond painting that, you know, you guys let me know. If you're in the members section, or even here, I guess, too, would you want to hear multiple readings during the week? Or would you want them, because I was thinking I get up and I read every morning. And maybe if there's one that just like really is like, yeah, this is what I want to talk about, I'm going to record this, and then maybe I'll pop it in a video. Maybe I'll do something like that. I don't know. Like I said, this channel is always evolving into what it wants to be. It gets destroyed and it gets rebuilt. That's the goodness of Vishnu. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you didn't watch the first half hour. So March 7th, Let Go of the Rice, was impactful for me because I have been holding on to things, and I was talking to my members, and we were talking about the power of words, again, from John's March 2nd reading, and more power to you, and like all these things were just coming together, and I was thinking about words that trigger me, not just words that you use that might trigger somebody. Maybe you don't know what their trigger is, maybe you do, or maybe somebody you know. But I was talking about my trigger is always let go. Let go for me is a phrase that I try not to use because it just makes me feel like it's just one more thing to do in my life, like, and there's no instruction. That's what I think triggers me about let go. So I choose other words. So let go of the rice. In a world that lives like a fist, mercy is no more than waking with your hands open. And hands are, maybe because I'm a tactile person, hands are very, what's the word? They conjure up all different things for me. With your hands, you give and receive. And there's so many ways to give and receive using your hands. So, what you do with your hands is important. So much more can happen with our hands open. In fact, closing and stubbornly maintaining our grip is often what keeps us stuck. Though we want to blame everything and everyone else, especially what we're holding on to. That was a big one for me this week because it made me think about why it was such a difficult week and what I was holding on to and why I could not let go. There is an ancient story from China that makes all this very clear. It stems from the way traps were set for monkeys. A coconut was hollowed out through an opening that was cut to the size of a monkey's open hand. Rice was then placed in the carved out fruit, which was left in the path of the monkeys. Sooner or later, a hungry monkey would smell the rice and reach its hand in. But once fisting the rice, its hand could no longer fit back out through the opening. The monkeys that were caught were those who would not let go of the rice. Just think about what you can't let go of. And if you just open your fist and let it go, the freedom that awaits. As long as the monkey maintained its grip on the rice, it was the prisoner of its own making. The trap that worked because the monkey's hunger was the master of its reach. The lesson for us is profound. We need to always ask ourselves, what is our rice and what is keeping us from opening our grip and letting it go? So for me, what keeps me holding on to what it is that I held on to for like 5 years was truth. I could not let go. And truth is a big one for me too. I don't know where I got this as a kid. I may have talked about this before, but I was saying this from when I was a kid. The truth loves me. I don't know, maybe I learned it in school from maybe a young teacher. The truth loves me, and the truth will always find me. And the truth, maybe it was truth setting me free, but I remember saying as a kid, the truth loves me, because I think I did share this with you where my aunt accused me of lying, and I was like, I don't lie, because the truth loves me. And I was young when that happened. And I'm not that young. I know I was in high school, but young enough to I think I just always had a strong sense of what was right and what was wrong. And that's a big part of your decision making and just who you are as a person. If you don't know what's right and what's wrong, if you don't have a set of ethics and morality, then I don't know how you move through the world or make decisions. So what was keeping me from holding this on was because I wanted the truth, and I was waiting for the truth, because I always said the truth will find me. I was waiting for the truth to present itself, but sometimes you don't realize what it is. When you're a good person, you really find, like John will say this to me all the time, and I wish John was here because he looks like he's 20 years younger. He shaved that beard off. John will say to me, you are so naive. And I don't know, is it being naive, or is it just having this outlook on the world where, you can see past things that are wrong, because and maybe that's my responsibility to not color the truth into the way that I want to see it, that everybody is good, because not everybody is good. Not everybody is good. There's a lot of evil people, and majority of the time they happen to be the people that are close to you, that really hold you with contempt for who you are, for being the one that just is not satisfied with the status quo. And that's me, and that's most definitely John. We're never satisfied with the status quo. We're never satisfied with, like, and this was another trigger for me from the in-law, that my dad was born and raised in South Philly, and they wanted to have his wake in Jersey because that was where my mother moved him to. And I just felt like that was such an injustice, that he was born and raised in South Philly. You're going to drag everybody to Jersey. So that was one thing that I just felt like was not, when you bury anyone, that whole time to say goodbye is just what it is. It's a time for people to come, and it's not about you, no matter who you are, to the deceased. It's not about that. It's about coming to honor the person and honor their life. And my dad was from South Philly, and I felt as though he should have been buried, and not buried because his resting place is in Jersey, but I felt as though he should have been honored where he lived so that other people could have made it. But then it was also the in-law that said that they were going to do it during the week. And I'm like, well, people work during the week. I'm not giving my father, I'm not having this during the week where it's already going to be enough for people to travel to Jersey, but then to do it during the week? No. And the in-law said, well, this is how they do it now. I'm like, well, who's they? Well, the funeral parlor. I'm like, they'll do whatever I ask them to do. And then, like, it's like, oh, well, here she goes. Here she goes on her high horse. It's my dad. And he deserves to be honored for the life that he lived, and for people to be able to say goodbye. Yeah. So it was upon hearing the story that I finally understood the tense ritual of rejection that exists between my mother and me. Like any child, I've always wanted her love and approval, but suddenly I realized that this has been my rice. Yep, can't get water from a stone. The more it has not come, the tighter my grip. My hunger for her love has been master of my reach. Even in other relationships, I've been a caught monkey, unwilling to let go. Well, it's interesting that, in the first half hour of this, me just talking and setting a little context for why I chose this reading, I must have blacked that paragraph out of my mind, or it's become impactful to me because of the reading that happened the next day, and why so the next day is the 8th, and that was yesterday, because today's the 9th. And I think I said in the beginning of this video that it was the 10th. No, yeah, that's why. Yeah, because today was a catalyst for a lot of truth in my life with my family, because I decided to show up and say, this is what's going on, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm tired of coloring the truth that everything is going to work out, because it's 5 years later, and you all have not gotten over the fact that I have gotten divorced, because that was the big sin that I made. I have to walk around with the letter A. It's really funny because that happens in the book that I was telling you guys about. I have to walk around with the letter A on me. So that was the big thing, that the in-law, who has this high self-esteem, that's what she suffers from, and looks her nose down at everyone in judgment, that, doesn't understand that people are complicated and that someone's marriage is none of your business. So I most definitely blacked this paragraph out. My hunger for her love has been a master of my reach. Even in other relationships, I have been a caught monkey unwilling to let go. Well, in my past relationship, and what I was trying to say earlier was, like, I couldn't find the words for ripping the Band-Aid off and moving on. It's difficult. You've been married 30 years. It's difficult. You've shared a business. It's difficult. You've raised a child together. It's difficult. You've built a home. You built businesses. It's difficult. But like that reading that I read during the week, that one reading, I think it was March the 5th. I think it was from Hemingway. Not Hemingway. Was it from Emerson? It was, no. For what are we sharing? March 4th. If the love I have isn't working, what good is money? I was in a very comfortable marriage. My husband made a lot of money. I was part of the Lombardi Empire, as I refer to it. The first pizzeria in the United States. That's who my ex-husband's family was. And, I had a very comfortable life, but what good is it? If you have no one to share your life with, what's money? And so I walked away, and it was more I let go of my grip of that, and because my hunger for freedom and to live my life authentically was more important to me than, holding on to this image, being part of this empire, and somebody said to me, John still kicks himself that he was not there when this happened. We were in Doc's Oyster House, and two people sat down, and we always tend to talk to people. People gravitate toward us. We're always having a good time, and they join in. And so these two couples sat down, and we got to talking, and I was like, New Yorker. And he was like, yeah. And he was telling me like where he delivers to and all. I was like, oh, here it comes. Like, I just know, like, you're going to bring up the Lombardi Empire. And he did, he was like, and so I don't talk about it, but John's like, oh, my new wife was married to that family. And I kept jokingly calling it an empire. And John got up to use the bathroom. And so the one girl, everybody, 3 people out of 4 were very fun, but the one girl was just completely miserable. And she's like, why do you keep calling it an empire? And I'm like, because it insists upon itself. And John and I get a crack. We die laughing. That's from Family Guy, when Lois can't believe that Family Guy has never seen The Godfather, and she's like, "How could you not see? It's great. It's the best movie in the world." Whatever she's saying. He's like, it just insists upon itself, and that's the way I felt about Lombardi's. It just insists upon itself. So I think that I blacked this out, and I couldn't find the words as to when you rip that Band-Aid off, like what like I do believe too that when you have a struggle with a parent, you will find a partner to work those differences out with. You will find a partner just like the parent that you didn't settle the score with. And I most definitely, the first time around, married my mother. The second time around, I married my father. But the first time around, I absolutely married my mother. The absolutely identical, always working. Family is somewhere in the distance. Numb to pain that they cause. Yeah. I have since unfolded the grip in my heart, and humbly I can see now that the real challenge of surrender for all of us is not just letting go, but letting go of something we yearn for. Yeah, something that I let it go. I had a long talk with my son today because he knew that something was wrong. And I finally told him, like, listen, I had it out today with a member of my family. And I am letting go of the hallucination that we're ever going to be a family again, because our family is being destroyed from the inside, and there's just nothing I can do about it. There's just, there's no one that would ever infiltrate my family and dethrone me as the matriarch of my family. And my mother just sit by and let it happen. And this person is poison. They're poison. And she poisoned our family. And those that are still in it is because they let it happen. I don't know what their grip is on this. I don't know why they can't let go of this person that is just so evil. But the truth is that food is everywhere. Though the stubborn monkey believes in its moment of hunger that there is no other food, it only has to let go for its life to unfold. Our journey to love is no different, for though we stubbornly cling, believing in our moment of hunger that there is no other possibility of love, we only have to let go of what we want so badly, and our life will unfold, for love is everywhere. So this is, like I said, the way that he writes, this goes back to John's addendum on scarcity and abundance, and the bonus talk that I have in the members section about this. To believe that because this is family, and that because you yearn this type, not this type of love, but you yearn what you would normally expect from your family. You would expect that your family would love and support you and be there for you and be happy for you and realize that you're human, that you make mistakes, and not, excommunicate you from your family a week after your father dies and you're grieving. Like, this is what I went through, and this is what I'm finally coming out of, because I've let go of the grip of waiting for them to act right. There was like another aha moment in my head where this had nothing to do with my father dying. This had nothing to do with me getting divorced. This was like a seething hatred. I can't, it's not that I can't find the words, I can't say them out loud. That you would hate someone so much that in the weakest time of their life, I was already very vulnerable, because before my father died, I knew that I was like, I just can't go through another separation. I can't, because we would have like we had multiple separations through our marriage, and they would all last like a year. And in that year, I would like get myself together, and then it would be like, what are we doing? Because on paper we look good, but under a roof and behind closed doors, it was horrible. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to get separated again and like try and move on with my life, and then have him come back, and we say like, oh, what are we doing? We do look good on paper. You're this that I'm not, and you're this that I'm not, and like, what are we doing? And then we try and make it work again, and then it just doesn't, because the issues are never being dealt with, which it was just, yeah, just a horrible way to live. And that whole thing with me, what was going on in my marriage was my business, and I kept it my business. I didn't talk about it to anyone, not even my friends. But my friends knew. My friends knew at my dad's wake. They knew. They were like, why is Elisa standing at the casket by herself? But where's her husband? I mean, he couldn't even show up in a proper suit. That didn't just happen that day. That's the way you always felt about my dad. You literally didn't even care to put a suit on and represent me and honor my dad that way. After what I went through with your family, I could write a book. I should. I can't tell you how many of you have said to me, would you please write a book? Will you please write a book? Ooh. So that whole reading, and even more things are coming to the surface for me as I read this. And what I did want to say is that the truth is that food is everywhere, and it is. And I find it here on Self-Care Sunday. I have received so much love from you guys for being seen. This is me. And you guys see it because you want to see it. You don't see what they all see, and it's so painful because it's family. But like John says, you have to drop the label. You have to see people as individuals, not as your mother, your brother, your sister-in-law, your niece, your nephew. You can't look at people like that. You have to look at them for the individuals that they are, because it's the It is the grip. It's the rice. The label is the rice. Like you and my expectation in my head. I'm going to keep holding on to this because of who you are. But if you were anybody else, I would have left you in the dust a long time ago. So, yeah, that was another, these little discussions that me and John have had over the past 5 years when we finally became, our friendship turned into a more, it was so platonic, but then we started to have these discussions. And I remember one time kidding around with him. We had a really, like, it was like the first time that I was like, oh my God, like there's more to this guy than just being like, you know, a musician. I've known him my whole life. I didn't realize that he was this well read or, you know, so deeply thoughtful or like pondering, you know, deeper questions. And it was like the first time that we had this really, really, really deep discussion. And he said to me, and I knew this to be true because I did know some things about John. And he said, Elisa, it's not like me to intrude in anybody's personal life, but I can see that there's a huge wedge between you and your husband. And are you okay? Because I don't feel like you're being supported in this time that you're needing support after losing your father. And I just was like, oh gosh, I didn't even know how to receive. When you live with lack, you don't know how to receive what he would call abundance. And he was being abundant with me. He was, all my friends were constantly checking in on me. Are you okay? And I didn't know how to react to that. I was like, okay, my dad died and I buried him and it's over. And like, you know, you can just leave me alone. Stop asking me about it, because I didn't know how to receive that kind of love, because it had been so long since anybody even really asked me how I was doing. I couldn't even remember when someone said to me, how are you? Like, and really mean it. And my friends meant it. And John was a little bit more sensitive to it. And we had this really deep discussion. I think he was thinking about coming to one of my yoga classes. And he's like, well, Nana, tell me how, you know, he wants to know everything up front. I said, I don't know how I'm going to teach when I go in. Like, I teach about whatever, I teach from where I am in my own life. So, and a lot of people are, you know, going through the same thing. And I think we were talking about multiple universes. And he was like, there's only one universe. There's only one reality, he said. And we had this big discussion and we were like battling it out. And I, you know, and then finally he was like, like there's, and then I was like, I said, you know, John, I can't remember the last time I had such an engaging, interesting, energetic discussion about anything recently like this. I'm like, you and I really get along really, really well. I'm like, we should get married. Not at the time I was married. I was so, that was the joke. We should get married because I was already married. And he just went, no, never happening. I'm never getting married. And look at what happened. Look at what happened. But I think that reading of letting go of the rice, like I told you guys what my rice it was, and I hope it like gives you something to think about. The March 8th is in a nutshell, which was the catalyst for me stepping to my mother and just saying like, this is what I suspect happened. This is why I suspect I've been exonerated from this family. And I'm going to just lay it out for you. And she admitted to it. And so that's a lot to deal with, because again, you color the truth and then you hallucinate that things are going to work out, but they're never going to work out because there's so much damage done. So I will be okay. I always rise from the ashes. But March 8th in I have one thing highlighted here, and who knows what year I highlighted that, but it was bringing who you are to a relationship. That's what I was talking about. Being your true self gives others the opportunity to transcend their limitations by acting out on their love. It gives the other person a chance to show up. And so when I read that, it was like, it's time for me to just, if I remain voiceless and I remain, unconsciously keeping this imbalance that I have involved with these people, if I keep my hurt and frustration and confusion and questions to myself, then how can I expect anybody to respond to me? And that's what led into this catalyst today. But if you are thinking about your own race, you little monkey. And it's so funny because another thing that, you know, I was like, oh gosh, Gabrielle also used, we were talking about, you know, words and letting go and abundance and lack. And she's like, I have a monkey grip on things. And I'm like, oh, I understand the monkey grip. And then I had read this and I'm like, oh gosh, like I can't tell you how many times I have opened this book and I'm like looking around for cameras. Is there like a microphone in here? Like, you know, like so many times I open this book for guidance and it's like, well, yes, this is exactly what's going on in my life on March 7th. I need to let go of the race. So if you want to think about what your race is, I love that Mark Nepo. I'm trying to hold this book so all the bookmarks don't fall out. This is the little exercise, and each reading is just like a page, you know. But this is the little thing that he gives you to sit and think about. Sit quietly and meditate on what is the rice in your fist. What are you holding on to that you can't let go? Why can't you let go of it? You know, I think for me it was, I was waiting for the truth, but I think for me too was, I knew what the truth was, and I just wasn't prepared to hear it, you know. Breathe deeply and try to see what is keeping you from letting go. Well, mine was, you know, truth. I think truth is the answer for most things. When you don't know what it is, it's like, and I think I get that from yoga, from my yoga training. It's like anything that we would question, it would be, the second question would be, is that true? Is that really true? Practice opening the fist of your heart by actually making a fist while inhaling and opening as you exhale. And I have to tell you, there was an energetic feeling in my heart when I just did that little inhale and then exhaling. It's just like I felt the grip from my heart just exhale out through my hand. And because breathing out is one of the words that I use instead of letting go. Letting go is a trigger for me. So breathe out is a word that I use instead of let go. Release is a word that I use. Offer up is a word that I use. Surrender is a word that I use. Jesus, take the wheel is a phrase that I use. The Book of Awakening. Falling apart. I can't wait for Timu to send me my clips so that I could give this spine a break. I thought about getting another one, but this is just written with, there's so many notes and highlights and stuff that I adore about this, and I don't know if I'm over. I don't know if I'm over my time. I am, if I am, I'll just clip this off and then use it as an end cap to the entire video. But I am, let me show you how far I got if you're not. Let's turn this around. I can't believe Foofy's not on the sofa. So this is how far we got while we were diamond painting. Is that a little something? Now, I am going to give him a little, he's going to get judged. I'm not pulling any drills out, even though I think that they need to. But I'm going to show you a few ways that I go about making any kind of overhaul to a canvas. And I think that I'm going to do that on the member channel. But everyone will see the final product. So really, it's just this section here and the wings. that are needing to be done, that I can call him done. And then our girl over there that looks like she had a stroke because the plastic is falling off her face, she is getting done also. I'm calling 2 dones this month. Yeah, I don't think I had any. I got through my female angel, but for February I had nothing. And for March I'm going to have 2, definitely. And then April, I was thinking about what is going to be happening with April. Who am I pulling out? Because I have Whispering Woodlands behind there. But then I was thinking that I wanted to have a little get together for those of us that love ABs and love placing ABs, and my canvas that I got from Diamond Painting Shop. Cafe Terrace by Van Gogh, I think, has 12 ABs in it, and I am dying to get my hands on that canvas because it's not a big one. And I just think it's going to be like a canvas I'm going to be able to do in April, and I think it's a canvas I'm going to be able to take with me when I get on the road to Florida, and one that I'll be able to do in April there. So I would love to do ABs in April with you guys, and let me know what you think about that. And go check that out, because I think Diamond Art Club has the same canvas, but I think they only have 3 ABs. Diamond Painting Shop, Cafe Terrace. It has 12 ABs in it, and I did the unboxing on that, so you might want to take a look at that too. If you're like, what is that? Who's Van Gogh? And I will see you, as always, in the next one. Please comment. Please subscribe. Think about joining our membership. We'll be happy to have you. And see you in the next one. As always, keep creating that world that you want to live in. Be like Vishnu. Destroy and rebuild.